Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Whitney, and I'm here with Curtis Davies. Today, we're going to be having a conversation about what we think life might be like after this pandemic has passed, and more specifically, what we think is probably going to happen over the next few months as we start to have more mobility with everything that we're doing at this point. So, Curtis, why don't we start with some familiar topics and some things that you and I both, well, something that we miss a lot,
Mhm.
are eating out at restaurants. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that at this point in time?
I feel uncomfortable. There's this feeling of uncertainty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of if the restaurant isn't doing cleaning techniques and the staff, you never know if they have washed their hands or if somebody has sneezed and they didn't sneeze into their arm.
Or they're
You,
asymptomatic.
right, exactly, because that's a possibility too. Plus, it's an area where people are, and I really just don't want to be around other people right now. I miss the restaurants. We used to go out 2 times, sometimes three times a week,
Mm-hmm.
and it just I don't have the urge to put myself through that.
Exactly. I worry about the things that people touch in a common way. And
Mhm.
particularly, I think in Mexico, where we live, we have a lot of street stands and we have kind of like a community, I don't know, salsa bar or condiment bar or something like that. And we have 6 or 8 salsas with, some cilantro with a spoon that everybody touches,
Mhm.
and the spoon for each of the salsas that everybody touches, and a container with the lemons or the limes that everybody reaches in to grab. And really, they're not going to be able to do those things. I think they have to serve those items to you individually or give you a little plastic bag or a small plastic cup or something and
Mhm.
serve the sauces to you,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know if it's at that point yet, but you and I are both on the same page that we are not very comfortable going out to restaurants, so we're not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And okay, so let's talk about what you're looking forward to the most when we start to have a little bit of freedom. And just to put it into perspective, because we usually record these conversations at a period of time, which right
Mhm.
now we're at the end of May, and we might release this conversation in a few weeks. But
Mhm.
in the case of our situation here, we're in phase 0, and I think we're going to move into phase 1, where they're going to have more openings and we can start to move around a little bit more, but not totally free. But
Mhm.
when we can do the things that we want to do, what are you looking forward to doing the most?
Going to the beach again, having our little beach barbecues, hearing the crashing waves, just spending time, having my toes in the sand,
Hmm.
and seeing sunsets as well. It's something I miss dearly, and I really want to get back to some of our beach days when we have them.
Exactly. There's
Mhm.
something that for both of us, one of the main reasons why we wanted to move here was because it was an oceanside town and we would have
Yeah.
access to go to the beaches and enjoy the ocean. And it's very therapeutic, we could say, being out next to the ocean and hearing those waves crashing. It's very relaxing for us. So
Mhm.
we enjoy sunsets and all of the beautiful free things that we can enjoy in life in our new
Mhm.
backyard here in Puerto Vallarta, and we can't do that. We can see that the
Yeah.
sun is setting when we go outside, but we can't see it really. It's just the
Mhm.
pink or orange color that's a little bit in the sky. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that we're going to have to adapt or adjust when we go to the beach now? Things that maybe we didn't do before that we're going to have to do now?
I think we have to find our own little space on the beach, our own little piece of beach area. I
Hmm.
would like to be distanced. I want to keep that distance. It's my choice. I want to make sure that When a beach vendor, a guy that sells things on the beach, comes and tries to, sell souvenirs, I want to make sure that I keep my distance away
Hmm.
from him or her.
We have
And
to have some sort of signal or message that we can say like, hey, thanks for selling me your stuff, but stay away, in a polite way as well, because they're thinking, oh, somebody I can sell my products to finally, and we're like, oh, stay away from me.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
Hmm.
yeah, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes if we're having a barbecue on the beach, that sort of thing. Being really careful with what we touch and who is around. Be more of an awareness type of thing.
Exactly. We have to be careful. We have to be aware. We probably won't eat random food that
Hmm.
is being sold on the beach either. Before, it used to be one of my favorite things. When we went to the beach on Sundays, there'd be this pie lady, like I don't know who she was, the daughter of the grandma that bakes pies, or somebody that bakes pies anyway in the household,
Hmm.
and they're like these mini pies, and they would sell them coming up the beach. They're like $2 or $3 or something like that, and delicious, coconut, pineapple, whatever. But this sort of thing, I'm not sure anymore. I think we're gonna have
Yeah,
to opt out.
sad but true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're a little bit on the paranoid side, I would say, with the virus. Some people don't care. For me, in my case, I had some lung issues when I was a kid, so
Mhm.
I'm a little bit conservative, we could say, with how we're treating this situation, because, we only have one life, and I would love to continue to be an English teacher for you guys for many
Mhm.
years to come.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and for me, one of the things I'm looking forward to doing the most is actually some local travel. We have an area that's near us, and it's a coffee region, and they have this incredible coffee that we recently discovered, like the week before this lockdown and problem started.
We were
And
literally just there
I know,
before it.
and unfortunately, the lady, I'm, for those of you that don't know, I'm a very specific coffee lover, and I just like everything else with food. I'm very, very specific about what I like. And this coffee, they had this wonderful medium roast coffee with this excellent flavor, and it's this shade grown organic coffee, and it's roasted right there, maybe an hour and a half from where we live. And when I tried the sample, she told me it was a medium roast, but I know it was a dark roast because, you know, I know these things. I'm a coffee lover. And I thought, I don't want to buy like 10 kilograms of this coffee, not really knowing. But it happened to be the best coffee we had ever
Oh.
found or tasted in our lives. And we are very anxious to go back to this little town and stay at this cool hotel that we stayed at and escape the heat of the summer that we have down
Mhm.
here on the coast. As much as we like the beach, it's a very hot climate where we live.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So yeah, that coffee is so good, and we're out of that type of coffee. We've got
Yeah,
something to hold us over until we get back there.
yeah,
But
a
wow,
second
it's
best
yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think about international travel? So we had a trip planned actually for June 30th to go to
Mhm.
Canada, and the airline canceled our ticket. So that tells us that we were not allowed to travel internationally.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what do you think it might be like? Let's pretend if we wanted to go to Canada and we didn't have a 14-day required quarantine and all of that stuff has passed. What
Mhm.
do you think it's going to be like traveling internationally?
I think things are going to change. I can only guess that maybe airlines will find a way to distance people on the planes. They'll sanitize the planes and clean them, maybe have some better air filters. Maybe they'll only sell a limited number of seats, maybe to take. risks and precautions at the start of things when they start to have flights again.
Mhm.
And I think that it's going to be different in the airports as well.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll put some mandatory measures there to, if you're waiting in line at the check-in, that
Mhm.
you have to wait on the marks on the floor to keep yourself
Oh
away from the
man.
people.
Can you imagine that? Just the lobby in an airport having those 2 meter circle distance marks. Like we would have people lined up for 10 kilometers trying to get into the airport. Like it's it's like a corral of people, the
Mhm.
airport. Yeah,
Yeah, I
very,
think
very risky.
masks might be mandatory in that aspect too, in those certain places where
Hmm.
people are in one building, one area
Hmm.
together, and for airplanes as well, because well, you're even closer on an airplane. So
Exactly, a enclosed area with other strangers around you. And I think that they started to do that, that they were only selling the window seat and the aisle seat to
oh,
allow a little bit more space. But I mean, even
right.
if you think about that, one seat between you and the person beside you, it's not even a meter. So that's still pretty close, and everybody should be wearing a mask in that situation
Mm.
because, it's a
I mean,
pretty good chance if the virus is really active or,
mhm,
in one region, for example. Yeah.
right. Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's also going to affect the price. Like,
Good point.
how
Hmm.
can an airline operate at the same price after the massive loss that they just had and not selling full planes?
Hmm. Yeah, I think the price is going to be more expensive, and
Mm,
it's going to be difficult for people to travel. People will start not traveling as much as they used to, and that's going to affect so much. But yeah, the airlines are already in trouble as we speak. So who
mhm.
knows when it's going to get better? But mm, yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
And
sound like anytime soon.
I think also that the initially when the airlines start to launch again, there are a lot of people
Hmm.
that are stuck in certain areas. So maybe there's students that were in the United States and they're trying to get back to China, for
Hmm.
example, or people. I mean, we live in Mexico. We're not trying to go back to Canada, but some people maybe made a decision, oh, this will pass in a couple months. I'll just stay. And
Hmm.
really, they're wanting to get back to their home country for some reason. So when the
Hmm.
airlines first start to operate, I think there'll be a lot of pressure for those seats. And because of that, they'll be able to sell them for a very high price. And,
Hmm.
I don't want to go to Canada that bad. I'm okay waiting until it's a normal price because it's
Hmm.
already very expensive for us to fly to Canada and back. It's at least $500, I think, 500 or 600. So can you imagine if it was $1,200 round trip each? Ooh, I don't know,
Oh,
but
I'm just gonna stay here.
pretty much just doubling the price of the ticket. Woof, that really takes away a lot of that maybe something that we took for granted before, that
Hmm.
freedom to travel and explore the world and go somewhere cool and far away for our vacations. We
Hmm.
are definitely, a lot of people are going to lose that luxury because of the price point of, I think,
Yeah, I
traveling.
was just having this conversation with a student of mine. He's stuck in Toronto, and he's like, when it comes time for me to go back to my country, it's going to be like so expensive for that ticket. He's already predicting that to happen, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can relate
Mhm.
to it for sure. Okay, let's move on to the last thing we were going to talk about, which is how the businesses are going to adjust to this. And
Mhm.
I really think that a good example of not adjusting quickly is an old job that you used to have. You used to work at a very famous video store. What was that called?
It was called Blockbuster Video.
It was
Yeah,
your first job when we first met. Okay.
it was a while ago. Yeah.
And what was that business and what happened to it and what was the mistake?
Okay, so the business obviously was to rent out movies and video games and things like that to people who would actually come into the store, rent them, go home, watch the movie, play the video game, and then return it. What happened to this business is the online world started where people could download things, movies, games, that sort of thing just took
Streaming?
streaming.
Mhm.
Yes, YouTube, all of that stuff uh, began to take over. So all the competitors and that chain as well, it was a big chain in North America, started to lose money and they started to go into bankruptcy or receivership and just totally close down forever. And that was because technology and the online world and streaming took over that industry. So that's why they
Yeah,
don't exist anymore.
exactly. They didn't adapt fast enough.
Right.
They just continued to do the business in the old way that they did it, and they weren't fast enough to jump on the digital bandwagon like
Uh-huh.
the rest of the world, like Netflix,
Yeah, I was
obviously.
just gonna say.
Yeah. So Blockbuster continued wanting people to come into the store, and Netflix customers were like, why would I go to the store if I can
Mhm.
just watch it from my house without going to the store? Obviously,
Right.
that's a better option.
Exactly.
So, what types of businesses do you think are probably going to be affected the most and may not be able to adapt?
hmm I think businesses that rely on groups of people.
Mhm.
So, tourism, hotel industry. I would even say like music events and concerts too, for concert promoters, event promoters, that sort of thing. It's another thing that I love is music festivals and concerts, and I look forward to going to one every year. And then there's the thought of there's a big crowd there every year. Do I want to be around other crowds and stuff? So that affects ticket sales, right? So it all trickles down to things that involve groups of people that are going to
Mhm.
suffer the most. Maybe, yeah, airlines and that as well that we just talked about. I think they're going to continue to suffer for a long time as well.
What do you think about sports?
Oh yeah, sporting events, sports and
Mhm.
sporting events. Some of this stuff is just starting to get figured out, like hockey in Canada. They're
Mhm.
trying to put together a schedule again for these teams and to have the whole season or half a season come back.
Mhm.
But you're going to lose out on ticket sales. These are in stadiums, enclosed stadiums and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Some are outdoor, but I think that it's going to affect the ticket sales and maybe even the players. If you were on a sports team, would you want to be playing with your teammates and stuff? You're pretty close. Hockey, you're checking people into the boards. There's a lot of close contact too with
Mhm.
football and hockey, for example.
Exactly. And I'm not sure if they've talked about just having the teams play and filming it and just televising it basically, but I just don't think it's really the same. And it's maybe a substitute, but really you need those ticket sales in order to fund the players and this event. The
hmm
sports teams don't exist just on their fame, you know, they need the ticket
Yeah,
sales, and it's how business works.
true.
So, talking about businesses that are adapting online, I
hmm
think that there are a couple of things that could be really, really big benefits. First of all, I just want to talk about the commuting situation. With a lot of people that are working from home now, that really means that fewer people are commuting to work. And I think that that's a really great thing for our environment. And
Yeah.
really, it's a huge benefit for people's time.
hmm
Maybe it's not possible to work full time from home. In some cases, yes, but in some cases, you really need to go into the office for certain situations. But I think that maybe as a benefit or a perk, some businesses might be offering the opportunity to work from home a couple of days a week,
Right.
and that could reduce traffic and the for example, public transportation might be less crowded, which would be good,
hmm
and it might affect people in that way and maybe in a positive way. So that's one
hmm
good thing. Now, one thing that I'm really excited about, because this is a message that we've been trying to get across to the world for years, is how great it is to learn online. And finally, we have the opportunity to break through to people that have this mindset of, hey, I want to learn English. I need to go to a school. And it's a really old mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
just because that's what people do, they go to a school, they sit in a class, they listen to the teacher teach some lesson that they apparently need to learn. And that teacher is explaining this concept to 15, 20, even 30 people sometimes. And then you break into groups and you do a few little activities, which
Mm-hmm.
really is just to keep the teacher busy with one group helping them and keeping the other 25 people busy in the class. But anyway,
Right.
so this sort of learning is not efficient and it's not convenient. It's not convenient to leave your house and commute, just like you
Mm-hmm.
commute to your job. It's not convenient to commute to the school. And when you go to these classes, these large group classes, it's not focused learning either. So right now, over the past few months, we've had more students than ever coming to our
Yeah.
website trying to find ways to continue learning online. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are realizing it's pretty convenient just doing a Skype call from my house, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fast and we focus totally on what I need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
But something that's really interesting is watching the traditional brick and mortar schools with their strategy. 15 to 20
Mm-hmm.
people in a class, adult learners wanting to learn English, for example. And that teacher is taking that same style of teaching, and maybe they're doing it online, like they're presenting it online, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough interactivity with the students to keep their attention because
Right.
they are not experts at teaching online.
No.
This is something that we have mastered, and a lot of people on the internet, online teachers, we already know how to do that. We don't
Mm-hmm.
think about teaching 1 to 30. We think about how to keep people engaged and learning and making the lesson interactive, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like foreign to them. They're not really used to doing this kind of education through
mhm,
an online platform. So
exactly.
they kind
Mhm.
of struggle a bit.
Yeah, like you can see the live lessons that we've been doing. We've got tons of participation in the lessons, and people are typing comments and practicing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really great. And if we did it in a format where it was a Zoom meeting, then we
Right.
would be able to see the faces of the people and they'd be able to join into the conversation and participate and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I really think that some businesses are going to adapt in the right way, and it's really going to be a new opportunity, and it's going to separate, in terms of education especially, it's going to separate the people that are good and have adapted in the right way
Mm-hmm.
versus people that maybe are just doing the same old thing that wasn't really great and
Right.
bringing it online, which is going to make it worse. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how that goes. So anyway, this is our point of view on what's going to happen maybe as things start to get going in our world.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure. I'm sure some of you guys have different opinions and you might feel differently about this pandemic and the risk factor and all of that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation and learned something new. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.